Oh, come on! Oh, look at that! Something sparked on this side. That was exciting. Welcome to the shop. I'm Jared, and this is Wrench Every Day. Behind me is our Nissan 300ZX with a 2JZ GTE engine that we swapped out of a Lexus GS 300. These came in Japan in the Aristo, the Toyota Supra. Very, very well-known engines. Our last episode with Earl, we went through and did a ton of small punch-out stuff to get him ready to fire. Put the exhaust manifold, did all the oil plumbing, mounted the turbo for real this time. It's staying put. We mounted our lower intake manifold, got our fuel system plumbed, we've got spark plugs, everything but wiring and power and a computer for this to start. Oh yeah, I also spilled a bunch of oil because we had to keep true to Earl's name. Earl Leaker. We gotta spill some.
Oh dear.
So now today, we are gonna go through the final punch list and make Earl come to life. We're not gonna run him very long because we don't have the cooling system, a lot of the other small punch outs that we need to have him fully driving. There's so much that's almost there, we're just unfortunately running out of time for the build deadline with Honda Rousey over there. And it's gonna take a lot of work to get Jetta Thunberg, who's actually now here as well, to get her heart into the limo. So again, today on Earl, we're gonna take the 2JZ engine harness with the AEM standalone, and we can give it power and ground and the signals it needs to actually turn on and run the engine without the rest of the car being wired. The other thing we'll do is we'll run the fuel pump separately on its own battery, so it'll just be able to fire up and we can finally hear some noise out of this car. Something I'm pretty sure you all have been waiting a very long time for. So I've just got a small little battery. We have 2 test leads. The ground strap doesn't go on real well, so I've got a C-clamp that we can clip the clamp to. And we come over here to the power connector, and we're connected into there, which then feeds the fuel pump back inside. As an electric motor, this is getting kind of a sudden arcing startup by touching this, so we'll probably see some sparks. Then we'll actually be able to hear that pump prime up, and we'll check the front and back to see if we're keeping fuel where it's supposed to be or if we're spraying it all over the floor and Earl Leaker becomes fuel leaker. So we're gonna connect here. Expect some sparks. Yep. Not quite sure if we can hear. There's that slight whine, which is normal for the pump. We don't have any fuel coming out there. I don't see any pools underneath. That's a good sign. And she's dry here, and you can actually hear the fuel coming through our regulator. That's just leftover oil from my amazing fill job. But you can hear it just barely coming past the pressure regulator. Here's our return line. You can't, but I can feel the vibration of the fuel coming through. Then we come here. That's dry. That will need to tighten just a little bit. There's a tiny amount of fuel there. And those are good. So we've just got one fitting to shore up. Fuel system's ready. I'm gonna lay the wiring harness into the engine bay, start plugging everything in, get our upper intake manifold bolted on, and then we'll go over all the fun trickery of how we're going to turn the starter and run the AEM engine computer and get Earl to finally come to life. We've got fuel flowing through. We're halfway, well, no, we're not even halfway. We've got some more steps done to get it running, so let's get going. So we can get you up to speed. What we're working on right now is we could just throw the engine harness exactly how it was, and basically we can put power here. Let's see, it'd be battery power there. These would get battery power and then a couple grounds to everything and start it. but I want to go ahead and pull all the extra stuff out of the engine harness we don't need. One, these are all the body connectors to plug into a Lexus. We don't need any of that. So we're going to go and back through, identify a couple ports that do need the power, that send power out to the harness, but we can strip most of this out. Some of the other things we'll end up pulling are, like these wires here, are for sequential twin operation when you have factory turbos. We don't have that, so they're gonna go, and we'll just slowly work through that. One of the other things we were stripping is the automatic transmission controls. We don't have an automatic transmission. We're gonna keep the speed sensor wire pulled. If we can pull the 2 wires that we need for the reverse light, those will get wired up to the Nissan transmission. But again, all of that can go away. And you can imagine, as all that excess wire gets pulled out, we save some weight and reduce the complexity of the electrical system. One other thing, I'm happy that we are going through and pulling this out. I found some splices that weren't done very well that I'm going to want to clean up inside that bulk of the harness that was hidden a little bit. So we're going to just keep kind of plucking away. Wiring always takes a good chunk of time. It's just tedious, slow stuff as you're pulling and identifying what you need to remove. So we'll get through all of that, tape it up just a little bit, because we're not going to fully wrap it until we complete the entire vehicle harness later down the road. Start plugging that in and get even closer to listening to that crazy side exit exhaust. That's a lot of spaghetti. So we've got pretty much everything stripped down to the bare minimum of what we need to run this as a manual transmission 2JZ. These will pretty much be the only wires we have to connect on connector A. I've got to double check. I can't remember off memory. I think these are ground wires. I'm going to check the diagram and confirm. Some of these are constant power. Some of these are switched ignition power, but these come from the relays to power the injectors, the ignition igniter, send power to all the coils. So these will get connected directly to the battery. And then, in theory, we trip the starter with some fuel, Earl comes to life. So we're going to start laying this giant mess that thankfully I do know where pretty much all that goes by having many years of working on 2JZs. Make them fire up, and then again, when it's time to wire for real into the chassis, we'll clean this up real nice. But you can kind of see there's a lot of spare wire chucked down here, and this will always get folded up, thrown in a box, because you never know when you need to splice a small section to make a repair, and having factory colored stuff is quite nice. So it's either going perfectly or it's going to go horribly. We'll find out. First thing we want to go ahead and check is that Earl's in neutral, so we don't propel him forward. So I don't want to just do a wiggle test. We're going to actually make sure we can roll. Okay, so we're rolling smoothly. Tells me it's most likely not in gear. The reason we can't just wiggle it is everything on the shifter is not fully bolted in. We need to go ahead and get our fuel pump running. So there we go. So pump's running. I'm gonna turn this to all the spices. So this turns on the ECU. The other one sends power out to the injectors. So okay, ECU is now on. Now we're gonna give power to everything else. Getting the alligator clip ready. Okay. Now, this is real first attempt. This isn't Hollywood where we've tried 4 times off camera, we know how it's not working. So, oh, come on! Oh, look at that! Something sparked on this side. That was exciting. Not sure what. All right. Oh, come on. So we don't have the wastegate on. Look at that. Not super happy, but he starts. There's no massive puddles. He spat fire out of the wastegate hole, but he still spat fire. Turbo's turning. Look at that. He runs. It'll be nice if we had a wastegate. All the stuff going on is delayed shipping, getting that to us. All right, so as you can tell by my social distancing haircut right now, I'm actually jumping back into the video that we've already recorded because the wastegate came in for Earl. So I want to go ahead and get that thrown on there so we can fire it up one more time without that horrible exhaust leak and get a little bit better picture of what it's going to sound like. So here's the wastegate assembly. I went ahead and threw the hose barbs on for the control side. This is where it'll use boost pressure to open and keep it closed for more boost. These newer wastegates also have these ports for water on the side, so if you're mounting it in a very tight area without a lot of airflow, you can actually plumb water to keep them cool so nothing sticks and overheats. We have a couple different springs to change the opening and regulating pressure. We have the valve seat and V-band, and then they come with some, I'm sorry, that's the valve seat. And then these are the flanges, so if you needed to put one onto a brand new manifold or make your downpipe. And it also comes with the extra set, so if you needed to put the flange on your manifold, you can do that, as well as make your dump pipes for the wastegate. Here are some of the extra fittings. This is AN fittings. We can get a focus. AN fittings if you wanted to plumb the water. I think it comes with hose barbs. Nope, just lots of AN fittings. So let's set up, get that thrown on there really quickly so we can see what it sounds like. Well, hopefully my hand was quite interesting to watch during that install. So we have it tucked there. I have it pointed backwards for now. We might come up directly through here with the wastegate dump, so that way as it goes, it just shoots straight up into the air. Or we may end up building a long tube to come over here. We may just go straight to the ground. Got to think about that one. If you have any ideas, it'd be kind of fun to hear. So we will put this aside. We will go through our complicated Earl startup process, powering up our fuel pump with, there we go, with the auxiliary battery system. Now we get our spark and fuel pump line. There's that running, fuel pressure. Let's hook up our ground. Highest of tech race car wiring systems. Energizing the ECU. There we go. Remembering where I put my start button. All right. Come on. He's being moody today. There. Now we're kind of getting an idea that that sounds a little bit better. Still obnoxious, but I think a little bit better than that raw, horrible exhaust leak. It'll be nice when we get the cooling system and we can actually get Earl tuned and running really happy. There we go. It is every bit as stupid and wonderful as we wanted it to be. So we got to hear how ridiculous it sounds without the massive exhaust leak coming straight off the manifold thanks to no wastegate. We're gonna go ahead and jump back to past me where I had a little bit better haircut and it was before all the craziness happened. So let's go back there. Earl runs, not perfectly. He still needs a cooling system. He still needs intercoolers. There's lots of button-up work, but we did what we wanted. I wanted you to hear how ridiculous it sounds. It's gonna be loud, it's gonna be obnoxious, and it's gonna be perfect. Next time we're on Earl, we're gonna be building a full chassis wiring harness, starting with a foundation that was just $40 online for a very basic vehicle circuit system. Unfortunately, again, because of timetables and Honda Rousey being a little demanding with her race coming up, I've got to turn almost all my attention towards her right now. We've got trips coming up where I've got to go down to Florida, give Freddie a hand, Tavarish. One day I'll remember to just call him Tavarish. There's only one of me. So Earl's gonna wait. He's not forgotten. I really want to keep going on him. I just can't. So next time along, we've got Jetta Thunberg. We introduced her a while back. Our 2000 Jetta TDI. Fired her up. She's just kind of been sitting. Ran great coming in. Actually stole her battery to fire Earl. We're gonna be pulling, just like how Honda Rousey looks, we're gonna be stripping her all the way down. Engine subframes are coming out because my goal or plan is to take this sheet metal that all the suspension, all the subframes mount to, and graft it into the nose of the 85 Honda. Because you can't really find much for suspension or brake upgrades on an 85 Honda. So as we wrap up Earl for now, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me in the shop. I'm Jared. This was Wrench Every Day. I'd like to remind you to always make questionable choices and celebrate the little things. We'll see you.